I have note cards because I'm really stupid and I'm probably gonna forget something. So, we're just gonna start from the very, very beginning. Panic at the Disco was formed by Ryan Ross and Spencer Smith. They were friends growing up from a very small age. What? So then, they make this band, and they're gonna be a Blink-182 cover band, because what's cooler in 2005? So, what was 2004? Same thing. So, they formed this band. Pat Salamander is gonna be great, and then Brent Wilson, who was apparently a friend from another school, according to Wikipedia, he joined them, and they needed a bassist. They were like, "Man, will you be our bassist?" And he was like, "Yeah, but I'm not gonna be good at it." So then, a little while later, Brendan Urie comes in, and he's gonna be the backup vocalist and a guitarist. But then Ryan decided he liked Brendan's voice better than his own, so they switched. And that, there were arguments and things a lot in the beginning because Ryan had very strange ways of trying to explain to Brendan how to sing the song, and Brendan couldn't understand any of it. So they got into a lot of fights because Ryan has a temper problem. And anyway, there's band, right? And they get signed to Decade Dance Records because Pete Wentz heard their demos that were online and was like, "I gotta sign this band. They're tiny, they're gay, they're emo, I need to sign them." And he signs them to his record label. They were the first ones on Decade Dance. And where was I going? Okay, so this is they record A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, the first album. It's got vibes. It does. And so they have this okay, so they recorded the album and it was gonna be great, and then it got really low sales despite Pete trying to promote them a lot. He wore a t-shirt that said "Pete at the Disco" when he at a show. And okay, so Fever You Can't Sweat Out, it's a really great album. First half was electro rock pop stuff. Then the second half is oh yeah, this is the 1920s, right? And then this album gets really popular, but slowly. It's like a exponential graph. Why did I say that? So it's it wasn't popular at first, but then it just really popular really fast after a little while. So they ended up in the first year of touring going from being the opening act on a five-band tour to having their own major arena tour headlining. So that was some pretty cool stuff that they did with Fever. Why am I doing this? So, okay. And then on the Nothing Rhymes with Circus tour, they recorded this beautiful, beautiful thing called Live in Denver. I cry. It's so good. So then, I'm going to talk for a second. Just a second. Just an aside. This is history. It's important. So, we go aside. I'm going to talk about the Rye Hawk. Arguably Ryan Ross's best hairstyle ever. probably Brendan's idea. So, we move on. They're touring. They're doing great. They come off a tour because they're touring for like a year. They come off tour, and they go away to a cabin, and they're going to write this awesome new record, right? And then, right there towards the end, right before it's supposed to be finished, they're all like, nah. And they decide to scrap it. Bad decision, but they did it. So then, they record Pretty Odd because they're like, we're tired of all the fancy schmancy stuff. We want it to be simple. As Brendon Urie put it, they wanted to do a whole new thing. So they copied the Beatles. So, after the Flowers and Gay era of Pretty Odd, the band split. I don't want to talk about that. I gotta talk about that. Ryan Ross and John Walker left the band, which is so rude. It's really rude. But they did it. And they went off and they started their, like, 1960s Kinks band thing. And it's great. But it's sad. So I don't listen to it. But anyway. And then, while they're off doing that, Brendan and Spencer record Vices and Virtues. I once heard Vices and Virtues described as a fever you can't sweat out's older, broodier cousin. So, there's a feel for that album. And then, it was really steampunk. One of the songs was on the Smurfs. They had a lot of extra music in that era that wasn't, like, on the album. So there was the, New Perspective, which was on the soundtrack for Jennifer's Body. Mercenary, which was on a Batman soundtrack. And they had a lot of bonus tracks for the album that weren't actually on the album. And it was all brilliant. It was all good. There were connections to the Cabin album in that one. So, like, we got to hear a little bit, kind of what that was supposed to be. And then Dallin joins. He's great. Long boy. And then he gets into a relationship with Sarah during this. Brendan gets into a relationship with Sarah during this era. And he writes a whole song about it, and it's great. And then we come to Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. That album has even more vibes. He marries his wife, Sarah. They're happy. They're great. They're a perfect couple and such. And then, but Brendan's album, man, it's so depressing. I wonder if he was okay, honestly. And, like, he probably wasn't, because, like, as I'm about to get to, his best friend was about to leave his band. The third one. He would be the only remaining original member. And this happened. Spencer left the band because he had some addiction issues that he needed to get through. And that was complicated by being in a band. So, Spencer Smith left the band. And then Brendan was like, y'all, I'm the only one left. And so he shaved his hair all weird and slicked it back like he was a greaser in the 50s. And he just wore a lot of suits, and that's how he handled that. So, so then, after all of that shenanigans and such, we get to Death of a Bachelor era, or as I call it, I Love My Wife era. It's so positive and high. Why were there so many drug references in this album? Brendan, are you okay? And then, so, this is where two trends with Brendan Urie really started. One, the ridiculous high notes. They're ridiculous. But he does them and people scream. So, that's one thing. Another thing is, what was it? Oh yeah, the beginning of surprise music releases, because he did that with, which one was it? He did that with Hallelujah. There was no actual, like, announcement about its release until it was released. And so, that was like a surprise single drop. It just showed up on YouTube and everyone was like, yo, what's that? So, he goes, and he does this thing where everything turns shinier. Like, it was already kind of shiny in Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die, but it was more like dark suits at that time. It was more like, oh, I'm in Las Vegas. I'm at a casino type thing. And then he went to just like straight up party albums. So he like made everything gold, leather pants. That's not a good idea ever, but he did it. And so in this era, I guess it would be considered in this era technically. He also did a Broadway stint. I've heard it was great, but I didn't get to go, so yeah. So then, what is it? No, that's all of it. Okay, so then we move on. Everything's shiny. It's great. Brendan's having fun. He's constantly on live stream on Instagram, giving me a heart attack. So then we get to the present era. It's been a few years. We are bored. Brendan, where's the stuff? So the guy decides to just, out of nowhere, drop 2 singles, a music video, an album announcement, and a tour announcement. I'm convinced he's Satan and he's trying to kill all of us. Yeah. So then, he decides to also start doing these pop-up shows. He sends out weird things to people, like a potato this one time, and he puts like numbers on them, and people are like, is that a date? And they just decide it's a date, and that's what it is. So he does this pop-up show and introduces a new bassist, because Dallin left. He was like, I got other stuff to do. There's a Ryan I got to attend to. So he goes and he hires Nicole Rowe, who's beautiful. And he just drops that, like, all at once. Like, in 2 days, within 2 days is when all of that stuff happened. So, he's trying to kill us. Dallin left. I don't know what's going on. There were potatoes like a week ago. That's where we're at in Panic at the Disco history. Probably left out a lot of details. Not the smartest cookie in the jar. So, that's that. Bye.